Welcome to Herself, a space for women to have deep conversations about the intersection between spiritual entrepreneurship and fulfilling your potential, so you can become the woman you truly are in every area of your life. After being in business for over 2 decades, I've learned, as you likely have too, that as you grow your business grows you in unexpected, often challenging, yet miraculous ways. Here, we'll talk about how to get out of your own way so you can grow a business that's abundant and sustainable while allowing you to be a force for good in the world. I'll give you simple, actionable strategies as well as wisdom and inspiration to help you root into your wholeness, lead from your values, and work in ways that feel deeply aligned so you can bring your true self into the world through your business and in every area of your life. I want to share something that happened recently inside my Herself CEO program. That was actually a really rich, important conversation. And since then, I've been thinking about, okay, because this is such a rich and important conversation, what would be the best way for me to bring it to the wider community? So I've been thinking about that, and that is what is bringing me to share this in this space today. And so this conversation was happening inside one of our weekly group mentoring calls, and it was on that week's topic, which was about websites. And the way that I'm teaching women to create their websites now is different from how I ever have before. And I was sharing a lot of updated information about what I feel you need to have in place on your website in 2026 to stay relevant. And these are pieces that I was putting in place myself the last season of 2025. And as I was sharing those key pieces with the women in the program, it led us to have a broader conversation about AI. And as we shifted into that conversation, I could feel the tension in the room, even though we were meeting virtually. And some women were already using AI quite a bit, and they were excited about the possibilities. And a lot of these women have been in the program maybe for 2 or 3 rounds of it, some maybe even 4 rounds of it. And they've gotten quite familiar with the different ways that I've been encouraging it. And some are newer to it. And one of the bonuses in the program is I have a workshop that actually takes you behind the scenes and shows you step by step how I am using AI in my own business. And these women have started to take those steps and are feeling enlivened by it and excited by it. And there are some also who haven't really taken any steps and are feeling overwhelmed and intimidated and either a little bit or a lot behind. One woman was especially brave, bless her heart. And if you're listening, bless your heart for asking this brave question, because I know that she wasn't the only one feeling this way, but she was just willing to kind of be a representative for the other women who are. And she said, Sarah, I'm just not that tech savvy. And I don't even know, I've never even used AI before. I don't even know how to start using it. And I get it. I remember just over 3 years ago, it was December of 2022, when ChatGPT first came on the scene. And I had my own hesitations. And I also had a moment of clarity, this knowing that this technology was going to fundamentally change how we do everything, including how we do business, and that I could either resist it or I could learn to work with it in a way that felt ethical and enjoyable. And throughout my history as an entrepreneur, I've been an early adapter. I was literally one of, if not the first person to lead online video yoga and meditation events back in 2009 or so, and working on Zoom for many years before most people came online in 2020. And I have found it to my advantage to embrace technology. And so since December of 2022, when I used ChatGPT for the first time, specifically, I was using it to help me write Facebook ad copy, something that I don't enjoy doing. I feel like I'm good at writing marketing copy, but I don't particularly like writing Facebook ad copy. But I partnered with ChatGPT and it just made it so much easier and even more enjoyable. And that's what I've been doing ever since then. I've been exploring and learning how to partner with AI more and more to make my work easier, to make it more impactful, and also to make it more discoverable by the kind of women that I most want to work with. So today, I want to have a really honest conversation with you about how you are or are not using AI in your business. And this is not from a place of hype or fear or FOMO, but from a both and perspective. And let me pause here for a moment to explain what I mean by a both and perspective, because it's not only a central principle that I live my life by, but it's something that I also talk about a lot in my work. For so long, I think many of us, especially as sensitive, spiritually oriented women, we've been taught to think in terms of either or. For example, either you can be successful in business or you can honor your values. Either you can use strategy and structure or you can flow with your intuition. Either you are tech savvy and forward thinking, or you are authentic and heart centered. But what I have learned over 2 decades in business is that this either or thinking is actually a trap. What it does is it keeps us small, it keeps us stuck. It doesn't reflect the fullness of who we are. It doesn't reflect what we're truly capable of or what's possible. And I'll even go so far as to say that perspective, the either or perspective, is dishonoring of life itself, because life is inherently limitless. So the both and perspective says, what if you could have both? What if you could be strategic and spiritually aligned? What if you could use technology and stay completely true to yourself? What if you could build systems and honor your sensitivity? And this is really the divine masculine and the divine feminine working together inside the world of your business. The masculine brings the structure, the clarity, the strategy. The feminine brings the flow, the intuition, the creativity. And when we marry these two energies, when we say yes and instead of either or, that is when the magic happens. That is when that spark of life happens, right? When the divine masculine and divine feminine come together. And that's when a business can actually work. It's not just run by the patriarchal, capitalistic script. And it's not this flowing kind of woo-woo divine feminine that never really gets anything done. So when it comes to AI, I am not interested in the extremes. I am interested in letting go of the rejections of AI that come just from fear or judgment. I'm also not interested in a way that makes you sound like everyone else or that is exploitive. And there is a third way. There's a both and way. And that's what we are here to explore more today. Let me paint a picture of what's happening right now in the world of online business. So like we talked about, AI first came on the scene a few years ago. Last year, 2025, it disrupted things in a much bigger way. And now people can create a reel on Instagram, or they can write a blog post within minutes, if not seconds. And this year, we're going to see even bigger changes. And throughout, I've been noticing something interesting. And honestly, it's concerning. It's really actually been bothering me that there's a lot of polarization happening in the marketplace around AI. And on one side, I have heard some prominent women in business looking down on other women who they can tell are using AI in their businesses for their sales pages or their emails. And they're treating it like these women are having some sort of a moral failing. And that really bothers me. Okay. And then on the other side, you have people using AI without any customization at all, just copying and pasting. And in the process, their authentic voice gets completely lost. So they sound and look like everyone else. And really, this is the opposite of living a soul-led business. It's the equivalent of just think about middle school, where it's like you just maybe copied the outfits of the popular girls and tried to sound like them. And in that, you completely lose yourself. And amidst all of this, there are studies that have been done that show that women have fallen behind men when it comes to adopting AI. So we are also at the risk of really missing this wave while others are riding it to their advantage. And here's what I want you to understand is that this isn't about technology. It's about partnering with a tool that can help you on two key fronts as a highly sensitive female solopreneur in business at this time in history. This is about using a technology that can help you to work with less exhaustion, less burnout, less urgency. And I'm going to share with you some specific examples of how I'm doing that and how that is one of the biggest game changers that I've found with using AI. And a second piece that is not being talked about very much, which we're going to talk more about today, is how you can use it to get your right fit clients to be able to find you more readily in this new landscape that we're finding ourselves in. And those are two things that we all need to be successful in business as sensitive solopreneurs, right? We need to work in a way that's more sustainable, and we need effective strategies for bringing the right clients to us. So for a long time, we've been taught that if we want to be successful as self-employed coaches, therapists, healing professionals, we have to be visible online. And this has been catch-22 for, I know, pretty much every woman that I work with is not really vibing with social media, not wanting to be dancing on TikTok. And because in practice, this meant like posting regularly on some place like Instagram or Facebook or TikTok, whatever kind of the current popular social media platform is, so we can stay present in people's feeds, so we can stay top of mind. And the underlying message in this teaching was very simple and very clear, that if you slow down or you step back, and if you don't do that, then your business will dry up. People will not find you. And this assumption is actually no longer accurate, because more and more people are using tools like ChatGPT, like Claude, like Gemini to flesh out and think through their challenges, to make sense of what's going on, whether that's something in their interior world or their exterior world. And they're asking more intimate questions than they would necessarily post publicly or ask you. And they're describing problems in their own words, in the privacy of their own homes, their own personal computers and browsers, smartphones, and they're looking for explanations. They're looking for expert perspectives, and they're looking for reassurance for these problems. And here's what most women business owners don't yet realize, and this is the shift that I'm wanting you to really get this year, is that these AI tools, they don't only generate responses, they also point people towards solutions. So for example, just today, I was doing some research on ChatGPT because I need to buy a couple of new light bulbs for new lamps in my office here in Bordeaux, because the light bulb lingo is different than it is in the States. And I like a soft white/yellow light with a low wattage. And I don't know how to search for that online here in France. I don't know what the equivalent is. So ChatGPT didn't only just give me advice about what I want to be looking for, but it also gave me several links to the kind of light bulb that I want to order. And so then I went and ended up ordering one of those light bulbs that it suggested. So how does this relate to you and your business? ChatGPT can point people toward your existing work, towards your website, towards blog posts that you've written, towards podcasts that you have published, towards any books that you have. And all of this kind of long form content that may be hidden from normal day-to-day view is being surfaced more and more inside these more intimate conversations within AI. And This is what we call a shift from more active marketing, posting on social media all the time, to more passive marketing, allowing these AI search tools to be recommending you. And this really just changes the landscape quite significantly. And this is how we want to get more up to speed with things. So now let me just zoom out for a moment and break down the two essential ways that I strongly encourage you to start using AI in your business this year. And if you are already using it, to become more nuanced and sophisticated in your use of it. So the first way is to use AI as your collaborative partner for content creation. And the most important way to do that is to get your messaging really fine tuned. And I'm telling my clients and Herself CEO, messaging is the number one thing that you want to be spending your time with. And the way that we approach messaging inside Herself CEO is, first, we source it from our unique soul's purpose. So there's not that outer inner disconnect. It's coming from the depths of who you are. And this helps people to really feel it's a frequency, it's a vibration. They can feel that authenticity. And then also to meld that with the actual needs and desires of your right fit clients. And there are specific tools that I use to help these women to get to that place. And then using all of that to rewrite the copy on your website so that it speaks super clearly to who you are, what you do, how you support people, what makes you different. And it also allows AI to understand who you are and the right kind of people to refer you to. Because when people understand you and your work at this deeper level, they're going to be more inclined to want to work with you. And as a highly sensitive person myself, I know that staring at a blank screen with a blinking cursor, if I'm like, okay, now I need to rewrite my whole website, it's so draining. And this is where AI just becomes not only helpful, but truly transformative. And one of the things is I've created a number of different prompts for the women in my program to use. And they just plug that prompt into their favorite AI tool. And that helps to generate the rough draft of the website, for example, and of using these specific things that we need to become more discoverable, more referable through AI. And I'll share a little bit about my own personal process with you. So when I'm writing something like a new sales page, or maybe I'm updating a sales page for a program, or I'm updating some emails to invite women into a program, those tend to be really big days for me. I usually block up deep work days for that. And it takes quite a bit of time. I know that I'm going to be pretty tired at the end of it. Mostly just, it can be very mentally draining. But now that I know how to use AI to partner with me, and it knows my writing style, it knows my brand voice, it knows my ideal client, these are all things that I've trained it in. It's not nearly as much of a physical or mental or even emotional drain. And so it's not just me creating it. And again, it's not just AI creating it, but it's like working with an editor all day, just going back and forth. And that actually feels really creative to me. That feels really enjoyable because I have these insights and my AI tool has these insights. And what we come out with is much better than anything I could ever create alone, and much better than AI could ever just spew out for me, because we're doing this exchange and it just takes things to a whole new level. So also just with that, it helps to lessen the loneliness factor, right? So it makes your work days easier, less lonely, makes you feel like you actually have a partner. You can toss the ball to someone and it can do the heavy lifting and then toss the ball back to you. You can do some refinements. And this also means you just have more free time for self-care, or to spend time with your loved ones, or to do other creative projects, whatever is important to you. Okay, so the first way is just using AI as a collaborative partner and helping you to not be so exhausted, to be more resourced, for it to be more sustainable, and for it to not take as much time. And the second piece, the second way is one that I don't feel like is talked about enough. And this is something that I really want you to embrace and get into motion with in 2026. And this is positioning yourself to be more discoverable, more referable through AI. And this is what I called previously this passive marketing. And it's just like passive income in that it isn't truly passive, right? It requires some setup on the front end and it requires some maintenance. But here's what you need to understand. So, when your work exists mainly inside social media platforms, like when you spend an hour creating a reel and you put it up on Instagram, and the Instagram algorithm is changing in such a way that less and less people are actually seeing what you're posting there, that reel is going to have a very short lifespan. Like your stories will disappear within hours. Your will be quickly replaced by newer, more popular content. And from the perspective of an AI tool, most of that content just isn't accessible to it. And so you're putting all of this energy and effort into creating something that's just not going to have much, if any, longevity or impact. However, when you take the time to create more long form content, blog posts, podcasts, or if you have written a book, it just becomes available in a different way and it can be more easily referenced through an AI tool and then suggested to someone during their search process, just like those light bulbs were suggested to me during my search process. And so the question that you really want to ask yourself is if someone were to ask their favorite AI tool, the question that your work most helps people with, would you appear as a suggestion, as a solution to their problem? Just like that light bulb that I needed appeared as a solution to my problem of, I don't know what kind of light bulb to order. And for this to happen, this goes back to what I was saying, that you need to have that crystal clear messaging. You need to be able to explain who you are, how you help people, what makes you different, what makes you stand out from your competitors, why someone should choose you over someone else. And you need to do this consistently. Position and explain yourself consistently everywhere that you're showing up online. And the more that you do that, this is what AI wants to see. And once AI starts to see this, it gets to know you and gets to know very clearly who you are and how you help, and will start to recommend you to the right people. So the result is you can have more people finding you without you needing to be constantly out there creating Instagram reels that most people aren't seeing anyway. Which, if you're like pretty much every woman that I work with, I'd say pretty much every woman inside herself CEO does not enjoy doing that. I do not enjoy doing that. And I want to really debunk the idea that you have to do that to be successful, because you absolutely don't. The rules of the game are changing. They have already changed. So, my dear, this is an important year for you to stay in step with AI's growth as much as you're able to in these two ways that I've just outlined within the world of your business. And if you feel behind and if you feel like you have some catching up to do, I encourage you to begin to take steps in that direction as calmly and clearly as you can. It's always one step at a time. And if you want support building a business, building a body of work based on your soul's work that can be found beyond Instagram, beyond social media, and created without exhaustion, without urgency, in a way that's guided by your highest self and structured for sustainable, impactful growth, I invite you to join me in Her Self CEO. So this is a 12-week mentorship that helps you clarify your soul's message in language that your right fit clients actually recognize. It helps to position your work to be discoverable, to be referable through AI, so that you're not dependent on being visible online all the time, and to build the inner coherence and outer systems that finally bridge the gap between your spiritual insights to say how you're showing up and taking action on a Monday morning. It starts to bring that divine guidance into physical form in a way that's actually sustainable and enjoyable for you. And early registration is open right now until February 4th. And when you join us before then, you can save $200 off of your tuition. So this is for the next cohort that starts in April. To learn more and to join us for $200 off, you can go to herselfceo.com. That's herselfceo.com. And the link to that is also in the show notes. So now I want to leave you with one powerful practice that you can start implementing today. And this is one that I referenced a little bit earlier in this conversation. Here's what I want you to do. Take out a piece of paper or open up a document on your computer or a note on your phone. And I want you to consider and write down the exact question that your ideal client is asking when he or she is needing what you offer. What is the exact question that your ideal client is asking when he or she is really needing what you offer? Like today, when I was needing to find a very specific kind of light bulb here in France. So not the question you think they should be asking, not the kind of polished, professional, sophisticated version of the question, but the actual words that they would use. If I'm just sitting here quickly typing in a question to ChatGPT about light bulbs, or when your ideal client is awake in the middle of the night, or talking to their best friend, or in the intimacy of their private browser on their computer. So for example, instead of what evidence-based interventions for anxiety management should I use, right? It's a mouthful. They might be asking, why do I feel so anxious all the time? And how can I make it stop? So once you have that question written down, go into your favorite AI tool. And if you're signed in as yourself, make sure that you sign out and type in that question. See what comes up. See if your work appears. Do you come up as a resource? And if the answer is no, that's okay. That's a piece of really valuable information. That's a good place to start, because now you know that your work is not yet positioned in a way that makes you more easily found beyond social media. And you can start to take the steps to change that this year. So, my friend, we are living in a time of unprecedented change. You don't need me to tell you that. And I know that it can feel overwhelming, especially for those of us who are highly sensitive, who feel things deeply, who need time to process and integrate. And here's what I want you to remember. Being useful to someone at the exact moment that they're searching for help is more powerful than constantly performing for visibility. And being a good steward of your own life force and putting that life force towards pieces of content that are going to have more longevity, more impact in your business is very crucial to your well-being. And for those of us who are highly sensitive, who are spiritually oriented, who might be more introverted, this is very good news. You don't have to choose between honoring your sensitivity and building a successful business. Maybe in the past you did in certain ways, but this is becoming less and less true. Actually, it's not even true at all. You don't have to choose between staying true to yourself and using technology. You don't have to choose between rest and relevance. There is a both-and path. And that path asks you to be brave enough to learn something new, humble enough to ask for support when you need it, and trusting enough to believe that the future can actually be easier and more different than the past. So let's make this the year that you step into a new way of building your business, of sharing your soul's work, one that honors your sensitivity, that amplifies your gifts and your talents, and that creates the impact that you know that you're here to make. I am here for you. I am cheering you on, and I can't wait to see what you create. Thank you for joining me today. And remember, change doesn't come from listening alone. I invite you to commit to taking one small or large, courageous action after today's conversation. One step you can take if you haven't already is to sign up for my Sunday journal. It's a weekly newsletter filled with inspiration and reflections about the intersection between spiritual entrepreneurship and fulfilling your potential to help you become the woman you truly are in every area of your life. You can subscribe at programs-sarahavaughnstover.com/journal. And if you found this podcast valuable, please share it with the women in your world. Also, I'd be very grateful if you'd leave a review. It helps others find resources like this, and I'd love to hear what's coming alive for you after listening today. Above all, keep going, and never forget the unique offerings you and your true self bring to the world. Until next time, I'm sending you my heartfelt support.